Hey everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Board Game Mechanics. I'm Katie, and with me as always is...
Hey guys, what's going on? It is Jason.
And with us, not as always, is...
It's Tim from the Board Game Rundown, I guess, but I'm like a deputy board game mechanic today.
Yeah, you're part of the Riveted. You're part of the family.
Right on. I'll take it.
So we invited Tim on. Hopefully he doesn't class this thing up too much. I mean...
Oh, not a chance.
We really are still trying to stay at pretty okay, Tim, so just, keep it low.
Oh yeah, no problem there. I'll try to just maintain.
That's all we can ask
quo.
for. Yep.
That's right, status quo. You got any zany banter? I didn't even think of any.
Oh, zany banter? I guess I could say, like, if you're hearing my voice, it's like you ordered a Coke and instead you got a Pepsi.
That is pretty funny. That is funny.
I mean, I'm not Katie, right? They'd be disappointed. I'm not Joel, I'm not Katie.
It's like, I don't even know what that means. However, when I order Coke and they're like, oh, is Pepsi all right? I always want to be like, no, Pepsi is not all right. If I want a Pepsi, I would order that crap.
I get salty about it too. I'm like, no, just give me water.
Right? Pepsi's gross.
Yeah, I agree. I'll drink it though because I just love pop. So as long as you slap diet in front of it, I'll probably drink it.
On a totally unrelated note, I'm trying to figure out right now if I put deodorant on today. Like, I really just was like, I feel like I'm sweaty. I don't know. Are you nervous because you're here, Tim? I don't know. I feel sweaty.
This is late in the day to be worrying about the deodorant, isn't it? Like, I mean, it's probably already passed, so...
I've been sitting next to her all day. She didn't care once. She gets on the phone with you, and then all of a sudden it's on, I guess.
Yeah, but you see, it should be the other way around because I've been listening to you guys for now I can say years, and so it's a big thing for me. I'm just kind of that new upstart,
We're big time. We're not that big time, Tim. Okay, like this. Don't be getting all like starstruck on us here, okay?
Oh, it's too late. I've been excited ever since that this was a possibility.
Well, we're so happy to have you, for real. And I have no idea. I think Jason shuts the air conditioner off so you don't hear it on the podcast, so maybe that's why I suddenly feel sweaty. But I didn't notice it the rest of the day, so... I don't know. That's weird. There's my zany banter. We probably should talk about games played, so talk about news or something.
Oh, this is a board game show, right? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we do talk about board games sometimes.
Sometimes.
All right, so now we're moving into some news. I think, Tim, you brought some news for us. So what do you got?
I got a little bit, and it's just because it's my thing, right? So in the Riveted, I'm the guy that's like, oh, minis games, blah, blah, blah. Ooh, territory control, blah, 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 right? I know that.
Yep.
I know that's me. I wear it. It's fine. I know my place. I got my little corner in the chat, and I'm good there. So for me, it was really big news that Eric Lang had announced that he was leaving Cmon because he was, in charge of their project development for 3 years.
Yeah. And
it seemed kind of sudden, but I guess he's still working with them on projects that they've already been developing, like Blood Rage 2, which I'm sure you guys are super excited about.
Oh, I'm so excited.
Yes.
But he's also...
Pre-ordered.
Oh yeah, right. Already, but he's taking time to focus on activism because he was one of the first designers to kind of come out, at Origins or pre-Origins, and got a whole bunch of people to bail out on that.
Right.
And he's also going to do like freelance work, which is exciting for me because it'll be interesting to see if he does some games that maybe aren't as mini oriented, and he can see what he comes up with when he's not at a company that is primarily miniatures, as their driving force.
Right. I'd love to see him team up with designers that do different kinds of games so that he can add kind of that really great thematic element that he does with his mini games, but maybe some mechanics I actually like.
Yeah, that's fair.
Like Vital Lacerda and Eric Lang.
That would be amazing.
It would be like a game about Portugal, and then there'd be all these minis of all the statues and monuments in Portugal.
See, but you'd be building the statues and monuments. So that'd be cool, right?
I'd play it.
There'd probably be some wine, maybe some cars, too.
Right? And maybe there's statues of nobles, and then there's some like tracks that you score all your points on.
Well, yeah.
But if Eric Lang's doing it, there might be like kill tracks also, so you kind of got to balance it out.
Right, and that's where you have the big statues that you build, and they're big hunks of gray plastic, and that's how you build on that.
Vital and Eric, you're welcome. We can't wait to see this in production. Well, and also
we called our shop.
Eric Lang, I think I actually honestly wasn't surprised about him leaving Cmon because I'd seen a lot of his work, like his social media kind of platform that he'd been really using for talking about diversity and people of color in board games. And you could see that was something that really meant a lot to him and weighed on him. And I don't know if it was something that he was like, oh, it's time for me to do something on my own. Or Cmon was like, I don't know if we're okay with how often you are just blocking a bunch of people online and making these unfiltered through our PR statements. I mean, I don't want to start controversy, but
I appreciate though his boldness, right? You know,
yes.
He does take a risk using his platform, but good for him to stand up for what he believes in and to really try to engage the gaming community. So I thought it was pretty cool.
Yeah, I think it's great. I'm excited to see what comes out of it. So good luck, Eric Lang. Well, that's a really interesting segue, because speaking of Vital Lacerda, my first item of news happens to have Vital Lacerda involved. And it would be silly if I didn't mention this game, Mercado de Lisboa. So it's supposed to be a little filler game. Vital didn't work alone. Julian Pombo, I guess, is his co-designer.
I bet you he's from Portugal.
He could be. I did not look up Julian's backstory.
You don't need to.
I think we know.
We know. But Mercado, it's sort of building on part of Lisboa, which is a bigger, great game by Vital that we know and love. But it's just taking that building part. So it's making it a smaller kind of game where you are kind of making a market in Lisboa. And so you're building stalls and getting customers to come in so that you can earn money, and the person with the most money wins. The stand tiles and the restaurant tiles look really cool. I think it, and of course it's an Eagle Griffin project, so it's going to be ridiculously priced. Expensive. But it looks like it would be fun. Like I would play it.
I'm interested to see how much of a filler game it actually is. Like, is he able to help himself, right? Or is it going to be like something massive that you're like, oh, tricked you. It's not really a filler.
Yeah, it's probably like, medium heavy instead of just heavy.
Right.
It's only 2 hours long.
And you can't piggyback off of other people's actions and do 5 things on your turn. You can only do 1 thing. He's just limiting himself.
Yeah.
I wonder if that's killing him. I wonder if that hurt him to try to do that, to, handcuff himself so much.
I don't know. He did that game with his daughter, the dragon, the one about dragons. I can't remember the name of it now. Yeah. So maybe he thought he's going to turn a new leaf. He's getting older. He's, the sun's setting on Vital. Maybe he decides
aging out Vital Lacerda. What's wrong with you?
Yeah, apparently he's not that old. But, maybe...
You cannot put Uncle Vital out to pasture, Jason, on our podcast. What's wrong with you?
I feel like I'm a negative influence.
I don't. The art looks really cool, though. I don't know if you guys have looked at it, but the art, it's by Pedro Soto, who might also be Portuguese. I don't know. But it looks really... it's colorful. It's interesting. I kind of like it.
Yeah, I think you hit on something really good, though. All jokes aside, this does look really neat. And despite being Eagle Griffith games, it and probably will price out Jason, I think you have to look at it because it's probably going to be really good.
I think you were right when you said Evil Griffin. I can get behind that. I can support that.
Yeah. That's fair.
Well, so we're going to talk about price. So this might be, I think, for people who want to get into Vital Lacerda and maybe just need a stepping stone. So I think that's kind of cool because we do love Uncle Vital on this podcast. But again, that's like jumping right into the deep end without your floaties on, as far as board games are concerned. But there's 6 days left on this Kickstarter, so definitely check it out. But if you just get the basic edition of the game, it's $34.
Ooh. Yeah, it doesn't price me out. So there we go.
Uh-oh. Unlock that wallet. Be ready.
I mean, I'm not going to, but we can talk about it.
Not a chance, Tim. Not a chance. Because of course, like they have these like cool shaped wooden tokens and stuff. So I would want the deluxe edition because why wouldn't you?
Well, of course. Why go halfway?
Exactly. And you get the deluxe edition, and it comes, I believe, with a copy of an expansion for the regular Lisboa.
What?
Game. Yeah.
Whoa.
The Queen expansion.
Yeah, I may or may not have heard that on the latest episode of Board Game Rundown, actually.
Really? Well,
hey, I'm not taking any spotlight. I'm not taking any spotlight off of Katie. Dan might have talked about that, and I know he's always trying to get on that fickle favorite list, and he probably just lost his spot, this week, which is fine. But yeah, I mean, it's the first time I'm hearing it is from Katie because I don't listen to Dan when he talks on the show anyway.
When he talks right next to you, you're like, I just tuned him out, whatever.
Yeah.
He's on his own.
I did say he was dead to me today, so that made me feel good.
He's got it coming, believe me.
But that's more like a $50 range to back the nicer edition.
I'm back
the
out.
Stars, man.
I know. I don't even. You were never in. As soon as you saw Eagle Griffin, you're like, that's it. Can't afford that. I'm out of it.
It didn't matter. It could have been $5.
Exactly.
Like, that's too much.
No, that's too much. It's too steep. So for those of you that are looking for a Vital game at a reasonable price, check out Mercado de Lisboa. 6 more days and $34 on Kickstarter. My next Kickstarter is actually well within Jason's price range, although not really within his wheelhouse, I would say. And this Kickstarter is called Zan's Book of Stupid Magic Spells. And it's exactly what it sounds like.
I mean, I like the price. You haven't gotten to that yet, but I do like the price.
And it's exactly what it sounds like. It's a book of stupid magic spells, which sometimes there's 17 of them. They're original and they're stupid. Like explosive diarrhea, or summon a middle manager, or create a mini clone. On their website, they actually showed the example of toilet wine.
Ew.
So
that's disgusting.
Well, you actually take the toilet water and create wine, which is
okay. All right. Still gross, but okay.
It's a transmutation. It's a first level spell. So you can transform the toilet water into wine. It's a really great tasting toilet wine, which is just like a mediocre regular wine. So
I'm really glad you were there to clarify all of that. So.
Just in case you were wondering.
Oh man. All right. How much is this gem of a Kickstarter here?
I also wanted to point out that the magic words for toilet wine is caca vino, just in case you want to cast it.
That's awesome.
Oh boy, this kind of humor is right up my alley. But yeah,
literally toilet humor right here.
Yeah. Yep.
So there's only 3 days left on this magical Kickstarter, but they're just doing like a PDF run, and it's only $1 to get 17 of these stupid spells for your D&D campaign.
That's pretty fun.
I think it would be fun. Like, if you're looking to liven up the party, this would be a way to do it.
How much is it for the Vinos expansion, Caca Vinos? Or is that...
I would buy that all day, honestly.
We'll have to see if they can get together on that.
Who knows? Vital is turning a new leaf. We just went over that, so maybe.
There we go.
It's true. We'll see what he has to say. I'm sure he does listen to our podcast. Gosh, I hope you don't, Vital. I respect you too.
He doesn't anymore.
He's been on, not anymore. He's been on it before.
I know.
He loves us. What are you talking about? He's watched our live stream before. Uncle Vital and us are tight.
I remember that. I know that's what makes me, like, Vital Assert, I want you to know that I respect you the most. None of this reflects on you. You're an amazing designer.
Yeah.
I'm the bad actor here. Like, just blame me.
No, 2/3 of the people on this podcast did not say anything terrible about Vital.
That's right.
It would just be the one who may or may not be talking now.
All right, to save you from yourself, the last Kickstarter I want to talk about, really, I thought caught my eye. It's from the designer of Villagers, which I don't know anything about that, but I'm uncultured swine who makes jokes about Cacavino. But it is called Streets, and this is a tile laying game. And honestly, when I read over it and looked through it, it reminds me a lot of Santa Monica, because you're laying these tiles, you're putting out housing and like attractions, stores, that sort of thing. All these new buildings, and then certain types of meeples move into the buildings, and then they're generating income based on like the meeples that are there, what they attract, that kind of thing. But the scoring is a little bit different, and you can close off a street, and once that street is closed off, you then score the money for the buildings that are yours based on the people that are there. And then those meeples can then move to other streets to boost the income at those other buildings.
Yeah, that does sound exactly like Santa Monica, which we'll talk about more later. But yes, it really does.
The one thing this has that Santa Monica doesn't, there's a couple expansions included in it, which I think that Santa Monica really needs, which I can talk about later. But there's a business expansion that gives you some different types of businesses that you can kind of specialize in. And they also have a consultants expansion, which gives you player powers, which I am always on board for. And gosh, they have really cool little wooden meeple people, like, that are in different outfits. Like, they've got hipsters that, have like beards and fanny packs. Like, it's really pretty cute. I really like it.
That sounds kind of cool to me, but I haven't seen Santa Monica, so.
Oh, Santa Monica's good too. So I don't know. I like to play this to kind of compare them because it seems fairly similar, except I was trying to decide if you have your own, if it's a group city or if you have your own city.
I watched Rado play this, but I kind of zoned out once I read it, or I saw that it was a tile game, so I can't help you.
But Santa Monica is the same thing. It's cards instead of tiles.
It's not tiles, it's cards.
Oh my gosh.
So therefore I like it better.
They're like the same stupid shape. One's a little bit longer. You could actually have tiles that are the same size as cards. But It's got like the different icons at the bottom. And it looks really the same. Like, Dave Clark better watch out, because if I were Santa Monica people, I might have a trademarking problem with this. So I mean, it looks very similar. But I think it looks like it would be fun, because you're kind of trying to see, okay, what can I do to generate people on these spaces? And then when is a good time to close off the street so I can move people to make another one of my businesses more profitable? I think it was pretty fun. So if you're interested in that, it sounds interesting. Streets, there's 19 days left for on Kickstarter, so you got a while. I believe it's already funded, but it's $30, and it's pretty cute for $30, I got to say.
Not bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have nothing to say on this.
Oh my gosh.
So wait, what's the beef with tiles versus cards, I guess, is what I'm wondering.
There's probably no beef.
Okay.
That's just what I said at that moment, so that's what we're sticking with.
He says things just to be annoying to me. Like, that's really it. That's basically what this show consists of. It's me saying something that's logical and makes sense, and then Jason just arbitrarily being annoying about it to me so that I get riled up and look like a crazy person when he is the crazy person.
Sure, I get it. I've been married 10 years. My wife would say the exact same thing.
But the beautiful thing is, I edit this podcast, so I'm going to edit that whole thing that she just said about me riling her up out, and no one's ever going to know.
You know the truth, Tim. You know the truth.
I do. I can't be silenced.
That's right.
I'm going to stay away.
I've had 15 years of this.
All right, so yeah, Streets sounds cool. Like Santa Monica, but not as good. All right, so that was cool.
You don't know that it's not as good.
It's not as good. I don't know that, but it's not as good. All right, let's move on to something that is as good, and that will be the games that we played. All right, so in this segment, usually Katie and I bring 3 games, but since Tim is on, Katie and I are going to jointly talk about 2, and Tim will talk about 2. So you're going to get a bonus game this week.
I feel like we should let Tim talk first because we've been talking for a long time. Yeah,
let's do that. So Tim, go ahead and hit your first one.
It's fine. It's fine. You guys will hate my first one anyways, and that's fine. I'm okay with that. Me occupying my little corner here of miniatures and territory control. I played Mezo by Kolossal, and it is like an Aztec-themed territory control game. Everybody's got like a god, and you like they do different things, right? So you think Jason explains games poorly. Here's my go. You put your god out, and then you're assigning, warriors and shamans, and then you have like a conflict round, and you're resolving all of that. And your guys either die or they get exiled, blah, 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 blah. You guys ever play a game that you're like really excited about, but the rule book is so terrible, and then you're really frustrated, and then you find out later when you download like a condensed rules like off of BGG that you played the game completely wrong?
That sucks.
That is what happened. I was really sour, and it's like, I really want to play Mezo again the right way, but I'm really mad at Mezo, and I don't want to play it right now. So I'm kind of like right in the middle.
The miniatures on this look insane for the different Mayan gods that they use.
Yes. The miniatures are amazing. They're so good. I wish I could paint, but I can't. So I just put like this little wash on them so they look a little glossy and like got a little bit of shading, but that's all I can do. I have no skills whatsoever.
Yeah, that dragon one's really cool, and the one holding the ball. Yeah.
Oh, that's so good. These miniatures look so good.
Oh my gosh, Jason, why do you have to talk? Like, why?
I don't believe you, but I don't care.
No, I have looked at. I've watched some videos on this game. The miniatures do look cool. I think miniatures look fine. I just don't want to play with them. Like, I appreciate the sculpting and the whatever you do to make the miniature look the way it does. I appreciate that. I just don't want them in my game.
Sure. Yeah, so you guys, I will just say, stay away from Mezo. It's territory control with fantastic miniatures. But find the rules elsewhere. Do not rely on their rule book to teach you how to play the game, because it will go horribly wrong.
Yeah.
So, because I'm trying to understand how the game plays, each Mayan god that you control and its followers, do they have different ways of moving or?
Yeah, so it's kind of interesting. One of the neat things that Mezo does is that the board is divided up into different territories, and there's intersections basically where the territories touch, and the gods can only go in those spots, and then they only affect the territories that they're touching. And so when you have to move your god every turn or every round or whatever, and when you move him, he does an ability, and each one they're all asymmetrical, so they kind of should help you define your strategy, the way you're going to try to play and win the game. So some gods will give you, might let you put warriors out on the board, and some gods might let you put your shamans on the board. Some gods let you bring guys back from the dead and put them on the board. So it's all really unique and interesting. There's no dice, which is different than some of the other territory control games that I do play. There's not even any cards, right? There's no real hidden information. So it's really interesting.
So you resolve combat without cards or dice.
Yeah, so basically you play a card. You pick a card that has 3 actions on it, and you're going to choose which of those 3 actions you're going to take. And each god has, it's sort of like Concordia, you've got a bunch of cards to choose from. Except in Mezo, you just draw your top 3. You pick one of those, and then you put the other 2 back down. And then and then in the following rounds, you're just drawing the cards that you haven't played yet. And then you can do those actions in whatever order you want, and then that will affect the state of the board. And then basically once everybody's done that, you just see who has the most power or influence in a region, and you're like, okay, they win, and then resolve accordingly.
Gotcha. Oh, that's cool.
So as of right now, you don't like it, or you are still wanting to like it, but you need to spend some time apart before you can try it again.
I think that's where I'm at. I think I really like it. I like how different and unique it is compared to some of the other games I have on my shelf. I just need to take a minute, take a breath, stop being mad at it. And now that I have the good rules printed out, because when I did it, like as soon as we were done playing games, I went right to BGG, and I'm like, I've got to have something better. And I read them, and then I'm like, man, now I want to play again. But it's like, wait a minute, no, I don't. I'm really mad.
It's a very adult response, Tim. I appreciate that.
I'm working on it. I see it. I talk to a therapist. We work through our issues.
Because I would just throw it out and say, forget you, I'm never touching you again. I don't care. The rules are screwed up.
I'm just going to send it to Jason. Let him play with it.
Hey, I've probably played games that have worse rules than that. I'm like 100% sure.
We'll see.
I've got one game that I've never even played because I have not been able to figure out the rules. But that's a story for a different time.
Yeah, that's terrible.
That's a whole podcast about games we don't even know if we're playing right because the rules are so bad.
Yep.
You ain't kidding.
All right, so the first game that Katie and I will talk about is a game that I just did a video for maybe a week ago by the time this airs, and that is Arkwright the card game from Game Brewer. Okay, now first off up at the top here, let me tell you, this is not a card game. I don't know what they're trying to pull here, but this is a miniature-sized version of Arkwright that happens to have cards in it. So now that that's out of the way, let's talk about this game.
Would it be better if it had tiles? I'm just wondering.
I'm
asking for a friend.
Well,
there were tiles too. Tiles and cards.
Yes. I don't know. It just I was expecting like a card game, like I don't know, games that have cards more than like 20 of them. So I don't know. That kind of messed with my head a little bit. But anyway, what this game is, if you didn't watch the video or you don't watch my videos because I suck,
I don't watch them.
Yeah, you don't watch them, I know, but you played the game, so you know what it is. So this is a smaller version of Arkwright where you're building some factories, you're putting employees to those factories, and you're trying to produce goods at a better price than what it takes you to run your factory. There's going to be some stock buying. You're going to try to buy cheap and then make your value go up as the game goes on so you can have the most stocks at the highest value. That's how you win the game. That's the gist of it. There's a bunch of convoluted rules in there about what you have to do when you build a factory, when you upgrade a factory, what you can do on round 1, round 2, round 3. Only certain factories fire off at certain rounds in the decade. And yeah, if you played Arkwright, it's kind of the same deal, but this is a smaller. So, Katie, what did you think about Arkwright the card game?
It was boring.
No, wait, how'd you really feel?
I mean, I won, so I can't hate it because I always like a game better if I win it, but it was kind of boring, and I can't imagine playing the regular board game because there is a lot of moving pieces in this, which I do appreciate, but in the end, it's stock market kind of stuff. Yes, you probably should buy more stock at the beginning because it's cheaper, but you don't have any money at the beginning.
You don't have any money, yeah.
So it's it's just not possible. And you can build up to 4 factories, but there's no way you'd actually be successful and profitable at 4 because you just can't maintenance that and pay for the upkeep. So I only built 2 factories, which I think helped me. Jason tried to go for 3 because he got greedy and it didn't work out. But it was fine. I would play it again, but it was boring. I think if you enjoy stock games or things like huge games, financial games like City of the Big Shoulders or whatever, and you were like, how do I take this to a level that other people could possibly enjoy that do not want to get into all this number crunching? Something like this would be that kind of a step. But otherwise,
kinda. I think
kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I still can't get over that
super light.
Card game version of a board game is that massive. I did watch the video, Jason. Sorry.
Brown noser.
I know, right? Well, how do you think I got on this show?
Jason's fickle favorite is Tim.
Right. But I couldn't believe what a table hog. It's like if you open up Istanbul, the dice game, you expect a dice game, right? So if you get the card version of a board game, you think, oh, it's going to be like 3 decks of cards, maybe just 2 decks of cards, right? And you play a 15-20 minute version of something, but
no,
I was shocked.
Yeah, I would have loved that. That's what I was expecting it to be. I mean, yes, I like that player board that came with it. That's cool, but that's not a card game. And all that stuff you saw on the table is in like a bonanza size box. They shoved all that stuff in a bonanza size box.
Did you get like a Mary Poppins bag where like, just more and more stuff is coming out as you're...
That's what it felt like, yes.
I was like, wait, these cards are mine too? Well, and these tiles over here too? And if I want to, I could build these tiles over here. Okay, and what about those cards over there? Oh, those are cards we're going to use too? And this track in front of us and this board in front of me? Like, it's just ridiculous.
Yeah. It was a fun game. I don't know if I have any desire to play it again, but I did play it. I made a video, so we're talking about it. So that's what we have. Arkwright the card game. So, Tim, what do you have next?
Okay, I played a real card game.
Right.
It is frowned upon by the purists in our gaming hobby, but I don't care. It is always a guilty pleasure for me to play any of the DC Deckbuilder versions. The newest version is the DC Deckbuilder Dark Knights Metal by Cryptozoic, and this one isn't like all the other ones. All the other ones, it's basically like, you play cards from your hand, they give you power, you use that to either defeat the supervillain or you buy cards to add to your deck, right? Like a normal deck builder. In Dark Knight's Metal, there's like a weird kind of push your luck aspect to it, because every time you beat a villain, you're going to get these cards called weakness cards. And they're in the other games, but in this version, they do something different. If you have them in your hand when you start, if you have too many of them, you can lose your hand and your hero, which gives you like an asymmetric ability. And then you lose your turn, and it stinks. But you then get like a new hero, and then you can kind of like keep going. And for me, it's a really fun twist on a game that I already like, because it adds like a whole new mechanic to it. And I'm a comic book nerd anyways, so I play DC, I play Marvel Legendary, I play a bunch of the Legendaries. But and I love deck builders. Deck building is, I know I always talk about games with minis and stuff, but like a deck building game is almost always going to get a chance for me. I am really big on deck builders. So yeah. I had a really positive experience, happy to have it, look forward to playing it. Again, I'm not mad at it, so that's good.
That's good.
Even though I did get my butt kicked.
So,
that's okay.
So what's the metal? Are there like metal cards? I know that sounds like a dumb question, but what's the metal?
No, it is not a dumb question. In the game, there are, each card has like a type, right? So your starting cards are called starter cards. And then there's like equipment and superpowers and superheroes and villains. So metal is not only like a subclass, so it can be like an equipment and also a metal. But all of the metal cards that are in the game are like foil. So they're really cool looking.
Oh, that's
too.
cool.
So you already want to just get the foil cards, because they're metal. They look awesome. And some of the player powers or different cards will trigger off of different effects, right? So like you might get extra power if you play another hero, but if you played a metal, card also, there's more power, So you're building combos and you can pull off some pretty good stuff with it. So yes, there are metal, foil cards in it as well. So a gimmick, but I like it.
Well, also part of it is it's based on the comic book series Dark Knight's Metal. So
yes,
that's where you get
and it's really,
the name metal.
Yes.
But it is nice, I think, that they included that foil piece to it, because I think that's really cool. And if you care about theme, Jason, these evil Batmen were summoned by metals. So that's how like the whole metal thing is incorporated into the storyline.
You're a nerd.
She's not wrong. She's not wrong. And I believe that she just knew that without looking it up. I bet she just already knew that.
Oh, I'm positive that she did. Absolutely.
I know some stuff. I didn't know that thing, but I do know some stuff.
So yeah, our new hotness buddy brought this game over one of the game nights, and we didn't get to it because I wanted to play not a card game. But
sure,
the box did look cool, and like I saw some like foil stuff on the back of the box or something. It looked kind of neat. So this is one I do want to try, because I've never played the DC deck building game, and I like deck builders enough, and this one seems kind of interesting. So I'll have to play it.
I use DC. It's sort of like a palate cleanser for me. It's light. I can play it without burning my brain up too much. It's one of the easier deck builders. Like Ascension's pretty easy. DC is kind of on that level. Setup and teardown is really fast, so I love it.
So it's like, would you play this over like Marvel Legendary, or is it like just a different type? Because you got to have the big Marvel DC battle.
Right. Well, I've got a ton of the Marvel Legendary stuff. The problem with Marvel Legendary is the setup can take a little while.
Yeah.
And you got to like build all these different little decks. And when you play, it's really great, and it's a much more thematic experience than DC. Yes. DC is really just theme pasted on. I'm fine with that. I sleep well at night knowing that. Doesn't bother me. So you do get more theme out of Marvel. Marvel's a lot crunchier, but I'm happy to play either one. But if I'm just trying to like bang out a game in like a half hour, 45 minutes, even with teaching, I will throw DC down on the table and knock something out pretty quick.
Yeah, because I love deck builders, so I've always wanted to play this one, but I played a lot of Marvel Legendary because in general, I like the Marvel Universe better than the DC one, but
sure,
I'm willing to give it a try, for sure.
Right on.
All right, Katie, you can lead us into this next one.
Okay, this has been heavily foreshadowed, but another game that we played was Santa Monica, and actually Jason picked this up. I encouraged him to buy it as a birthday present this past weekend, since he celebrated his birthday on Monday, on Labor Day this week. And so Santa Monica is very similar to the game Streets that I was talking about that's on Kickstarter, where there are cards that you are drafting and playing in front of you because you're kind of creating your own boardwalk. And you start with kind of a central pier that gives you a goal for the game to get points. But that's only one way that you get points. So you're drafting these cards that can give you sand dollars, which are currency that allow you to do kind of these special actions. You are drafting cards that give you different types of like tourists or locals that then can go on certain space, like little circles on with our activities on different cards that if you have maybe 2 tourists there, you can get 3 points. And then there are other cards that have powers that, if you chain so many of a certain type of card together, you're going to get points for that. And then there's like a set of like overall goals for everyone that will allow you to gain points through the game. And you're playing until everyone has drafted 14 cards into their boardwalk. It's so cute. Like, the artwork is so cute. The little meeples are really cute. All the little cards are different. There's little weddings on the beach, and there's volleyball games, and
flying a
kite, parking lot, sunbathing, all these kind of little fun little beach activities. It felt like really... It was like if the Beach Boys made Takedo, it would feel like Santa Monica.
That's a good description, actually. But this game is a lot deeper than Takedo is, like, as a general rule.
Yeah, just because there's a lot of different scoring options, I guess. But it felt so relaxing to me. That's what it reminded me of. So that was Santa Monica. I assume that you did like it, Jace.
Oh, yeah. I played it twice. I played it on Frozen 2 Party, and then we played it, I think, the next day or the day after. And yeah, I lost both times. No surprise there. But yeah, there's a bunch of different variety because you can get different gold cards out. You can get different sand dollar powers that are going to give you special abilities throughout the game. Different cards are going to come out in different orders. You're going to have a different pier that you can play. So yeah, the game is going to play similarly, but you're going to have different stuff that you're trying to focus on in the game. And I liked it. I like drafting cards from like a tableau and building a tableau in front of me. And I liked the extra special ability of the food truck and the foodie that will give you extra money or extra movement so you can get those stupid people where they need to go. So yeah, I really do like this one. Glad that we have it. Glad you encouraged me to pick it up. And can't wait to play it again. This
sounds really cool, guys. I had never even heard of Santa Monica until I started seeing it pop up. I know, blaspheme.
It's so good. Like, if you like drafting games at all and you just like really nice artwork, but with like, it's not a heavy game by any stretch of the imagination, but it has some cool strategy and decisions that you can make throughout the game. It's really good. It's really good.
Right on, right on.
Yeah, I like it because I like engine builders, and while you're not building an engine, like, I'm always trying to figure out how can I maximize my points with these cards. So I had 2 cards that actually gave the same bonus, so I just started layering the same types of cards next to each other to really build up my points. So I think there's like a thinkiness to it that's fun, but it's also still this lighthearted beach theme with like the fun little wooden meeples. So yeah, you should definitely check it out, man.
Yeah, that sounds good. That sounds really good.
Okay, so for this special episode, unprecedented, Tim joining us as a guest, we wanted to talk about games that surprised us. But games that surprise us in a good way. Not like when you bite into a cookie and you think it's chocolate chip and it turns out to be raisin. Not like that.
That's a good surprise.
That's a horrible surprise.
I love raisin cookies.
What is wrong with you? Oh my gosh. See the one I'm dealing with, Tim? Now it's out there for everybody. Everybody knows.
You're up for sainthood.
Because I like raisin cookies, that makes me like evil.
That basically makes you a monster.
Lizard people. That's what it is.
I think Eric Lang tweeted about you.
That's probably true. I better go delete that.
So this is a good surprise. Like, oh, you thought there was no more cookies in the jar, but you find one and it has lots of chocolate chips and you're very excited. Like, this is a good surprise. And so for me, when I was choosing games, I thought about games that someone brought out or I saw it first and I was like, ugh, and turned my nose up at because I thought this is not going to be good. And then I played it and I was like, that was really good. So we each picked 2 because we're trying not to make a 2-hour podcast. So I think Jason is first on the list.
All right. So my first game is it's a newer game that New Hotness Buddy brought over. And this is a flicking and writing game. So you're flicking discs and then you're writing things. And this is called Sonora. And this is from Pandasaurus. And essentially what you're doing here, you got like this little mini crokinole crokinole board where you're taking these little discs. You have discs that have 5 different numbers. And what you're trying to do is you're trying to flick this disc into either the middle, which will let you pick the region. There's 4 different regions that you want to write the number on to try to get some of the bonuses of that region. Or you're trying to get it into a specific region. The region will let you put that number over on that part of the board to try to keep growing that section of the board to score the most points. In each region, there's also some bonus sections that will relate back to a different section of the board. So maybe I'll flip it to the top left section, but I'll get into the little bonus section of the bottom right. So I get to write in the bottom right section even though I'm in the top left. Sounds convoluted, and it kind of is, and really the flicking could just be a die roll, but the flicking was kind of enjoyable, and the roll and write part was actually fun because there was a lot more strategy there than just, hey, I landed here, go right, because you get to kind of pick what you're doing. You're going to get some special powers that you can use throughout the game to try to maximize your score. So Sonora I wanted to put on here because it's 2 things that I don't really like. I don't like flicking. I don't really like roll and writes. But I was surprised by this game, and I would play this again. So that's Sonora from Pandasaurus.
Ooh, I was really skeptical about this when I saw it come out because they announced it. Wasn't this part of their like Gen Con announcements or release?
I'm not sure. I have no idea. I was so not interested in it that I never paid attention to it. So it could be.
Yeah, I don't know. I do like flicking games. I don't love roll and writes all the time. But yeah, and then after I think I chatted with you about it a little bit, and you're like, oh, it's actually kind of interesting. And I was like, okay, well, maybe I got to look at it.
Yeah.
I'm not going to look at it or play it. And I didn't play it when Jason played it because I hate flicking games. I hate them so much. All dexterity games, I hate them. But I actually kind of like roll and write games. I think that I'm like snooty and think I'm better than them and don't like them. But all the ones I've played, I like. But I will not play this one.
Yeah,
so it can surprise Jason, but not me.
You would really hate the flicking part. I'm like 100% sure. But it is good.
As am I.
I do like it.
I just want to be a fly on the wall and watch Katie try to play it, so that I can hear like all the unedited swear words as she,
Yes, there's lots of like bleeping and like table flipping. Like I can't handle it. We played some. Oh, what game was that? We played some stupid. That one dungeon terrible game where you like dump
Dungeon
stuff.
Fighter. Oh no.
No, Dungeon Drop.
Yes.
From Game
And
Right.
of course, my special power was, you can flick a gem at some other one, and I'm like, are you kidding me? It was the worst.
Oh.
All right, so that's all I got. That's the only thing the first one I'm going to talk about. So, Tim, you go ahead and hit us with a game that surprised you.
All right, so let me just preface this. I am a child of the late 70s, so I'm kind of like by default a Gen Xer, which then makes me want to hate things that everybody else likes.
Yes.
And so when Dinosaur Island first came out from the first Kickstarter, I was like, what is up with this? The art's ugly. I did not like the Jurassic World. So I just had like arms crossed, frowny face. And I had a friend, and the second Kickstarter was going, right? And I had a friend that was like, hey, let's play Dinosaur Island. And I'm like, okay, fine. Because I'm not the guy to say no. Like I usually will just play whatever and stuff. And so they wanted to, you know, I kind of wanted to see it, but I didn't really want to admit that I wanted to see it. So I played it, and I'm like, oh no, wait, this game's really good. Like, and then I went and looked at the Kickstarter, and I found that the second wave Kickstarter with the expansion was really confusing, and then I got all mad at it again, and then I was like, oh, wait a minute, no, this game's really good. I sound like a temperamental child on this podcast, and I realized.
That's what I was thinking.
But I ended up just kind of loving everything about Dinosaur Island. I love the art, I love like the chunky dice, I love the dual layered boards, I like the way that it breaks down all of your turns. I've just totally come completely around onto Dinosaur Island, and I absolutely love it. So that was a game that I was surprised by.
Yeah, actually one of my favorite things about this game is how easy it is to teach. Because you can break it down into all 5 phases, or however many phases there are. I think there's 5. And you can say, hey, here's what phase 1 does. Then we'll go to phase 2. Hey, here's how we're going to teach phase 2. And then you just keep going on. It's really nice.
It's really brilliant. Yeah, it's really well designed. I have a good time every time I play it.
Oh yeah, and for us, it was totally opposite because we were all in. As a kid, I grew up playing we would act out Jurassic Park on the playground. Like we are obviously, nice. I mean the nerd is high. We all know this. And so when they're like, oh my gosh, it's a Jurassic Park themed game, that's awesome. And I can't believe you didn't like Jurassic World. That movie is so good.
Agree to disagree? Can we still be friends?
We can.
You could put a dinosaur in any movie and I will love it.
Listen, it is fine for a popcorn movie, but it wasn't like Jurassic Park. The original Jurassic Park is so good.
It's amazing.
It's so satisfying.
Yes.
And I love it always. And Jurassic World is probably the best of the sequels. But was not really excited when I walked out of the theater after that one. I mean, I didn't walk out of the theater. I mean, when I left the theater. Let me be clear. I'm not that much of a child. I'm leaving.
But yeah, this is such a good game. I really like it. It has that feel of a really heavy game because you're managing so many different things. But I feel like it makes it, the way it's broken down, makes it so much more palatable and easy to follow.
It tricks you into playing like a relatively complex game by making it so easy to learn. Yeah,
I agree. Good choice. I'm so glad you like it.
I love it. I absolutely love it.
All right, so a game that surprised me is Blackout Hong Kong, and this is from Eggertspiele. And normally I am all in on anything from Eggertspiele, because, I mean, I'm married to Jason, and we have lots of those kind of games on our shelves.
No, not those kind of games. You meant to say awesome games is what you meant to say.
Oh,
okay.
Yeah.
I was thinking ugly artwork, nobles trading in the Mediterranean,
so
but
awesome.
Yes.
Yeah, that's what I said. Awesome.
But I think you and Joel were talking about it, and Joel and I have been friends for longer than actually I've known Jason. But sometimes when Joel likes a game, I automatically don't want to like it just because I'm a contrarian to him. Because I just like to irritate him too. That's another thing.
I can dig that.
And I'm like, he loves this game. I don't know. Joel likes some games that I think are questionable. So I was like, ah. And then Jason's like, oh yeah, it's so good. And he got it. And I was like, why did you get this? Come on. And they were talking about how the board was so dark. And I'm like, great. Because like we discussed last week, I like beautiful, pretty, like Asian themed artwork. That's one of my things.
This is Asian themed.
It is, but it's not what I would. There's not a cherry blossom anywhere. I can't see Mount Fuji.
That's true.
But we played it, and I was like, I like this. Like, there was some really great decisions you had to make, and you want to get your characters out so you can like build up these. I can't explain how the game plays very well because I'm terrible at explaining this game because I've only played it like maybe that one or two times. But it was really engaging and it had a lot of good decisions like you'd expect from an Eggertspiele game. Yeah, the artwork wasn't great, but and there was kind of, I don't want to say an area control element, but where you're like putting things out on that board, the central board. I didn't love that part, but it was way better than I thought. Like, I was really pleasantly surprised. Like, I would definitely play it again, even though it's ugly. Still, it was a good game.
Yeah, I've played this a lot too, solo, because the solo version is pretty good. It's basically the normal version, but you're like the solo guy is like taking some cards away and making it harder. So yeah, I really like this game a lot. Tim, have you played this?
I have not, but I've been really curious about it for like a long time. Actually. Not to blow smoke, but I heard you guys talk about it, and at first I was like, oh no, the board's too dark, and stuff like that, and you kind of were like back and forth on if you liked it originally, but then like the more that I saw, of it and heard about it, it's like, man, I just need to play that.
Yeah, the way that Joel and Jason made it seem like the board was so dark that like you couldn't see what you were doing or something, and I thought,
yeah, they made it, yeah, exactly.
I don't feel like that's the case at all. Like I didn't really notice that at all.
I didn't think I sold it like that, but maybe I did.
You did.
Yeah, it's just black with colored dots on the top of it. I mean, that's all it is.
It's like a space game almost. Like that's.
No. Oh no!
It does. Yeah.
Katie, you're on the verge of ruining it for yourself. Don't do it.
That's true. I don't want to go there. I can't go there to space. So yeah, that's my pick. Blackout Hong Kong. I liked it.
All right, so the next pick that I'm going to talk about, and the last one I'm going to talk about, is from a company called Evil Hat. They do a ton of RPGs, but this is not one of them. This is a worker placement deck building game.
Yeah.
Kind of. And it's called Don't Turn Your Back, which is based on an RPG that has some name kind of like that. I don't know what it is, and I don't care. But this game, you have some starting cards, like at every deck builder, and you have your own personal market that only you can buy from. And what you're doing throughout this game is you're using these cards to put them out on a central board to, I don't know, maybe be able to have buying power to buy other cards, to go to the high school to get some reputation so you can score some points. You're going to be eventually putting some of your workers or your people in plaster or something like that. Carbonite, something.
Wax.
Oh, yeah, wax. That's right. Yeah, wax.
It's like a scary movie theme, buddy.
Wax. One or the other,
yeah.
But I don't know which.
Yeah, so you put them in wax to score in-game points. It's just a really interesting and different game with a really terrible, like, B-movie horror theme. And this was another game our new hotness buddy brought over. I looked at the box. It looks like those flying frog, like real people dressed up in costumes type box. Yeah, it looked awful.
Red flag.
Yeah, it looked terrible. But then he's like, hey, this is really good, and I haven't gotten to play it. I was like, fine, whatever, because I'm kind of like you. I'll play anything almost one time. But,
right.
So we gave it a shot, and turns out this is a really fun game. It's not super long. It's easy to play. It's easy to understand. Iconography is good, and it was a surprise. Hence the reason it's on this list. So that is Don't Turn Your Back from Evil Hat.
I think I'm going to have to look that up because that does sound interesting now. I had never heard of it, but now I'm like really intrigued.
Yeah, we hadn't heard of it either. It's based, the role-playing game is called Don't Rest Your Head. And it's like super creepy where like everyone has insomnia or something, but if you fall asleep, like horrible things happen, like in your dreams or whatever. It's super creepy, which I don't like because I am such a chicken. And the artwork is like grotesque looking, and I thought, oh no. And I am not the person that will play whatever. I'm the one that's going to pitch a fit about it. But Chris, always, our new hotness buddy, always makes me play these games that he's like, it's good, I'm telling you. I know you turn your nose up at it. You should try it. And I was
you
really...
mean you won't play my space-themed horror flicking game, then?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not, Tim. No. You know better. Don't even bring it to me. But this, like, I love deck building, so I'm like, okay, fine. And it really is... There's like a central board that you're sharing, and there's these different places that you can go to get points. And you're playing your cards, and... you know, your different cards have different abilities. Is there like a numbered hierarchy on there? Is that how you decide what goes where?
They have sections of the board on the card where you can play them.
Oh yeah, and then numbers. So when you draw your hand, some of your cards can only go in certain sections, but those can get filled up, and you're trying to say, okay, well, where can I go to make points? Like, am I going to kind of block somebody else out? Like, it is really thinky, and despite being ugly and disgusting, and I wish it'd be rethemed, it was like a really good game.
Yeah, it's super good.
I don't know how hard it is to find though.
I don't know. I'll have to look it up.
Yeah, so I think, it's on BGG. I think you can find it. But I know, Tim, that Dan was mentioning that he liked worker placement deck builders.
Yes.
So maybe this is one that he should check out if he's into that.
I know. And you know what's funny is whenever he talks about that, I always forget to bring this one up because I don't know how to classify this game, but I think you just did. So early on in like my gaming hobby, I did play like a lot of tabletop miniatures games like Warhammer. I played Magic the Gathering, and then I stopped playing those things because I couldn't paint miniatures and I wanted to stop spending money all the time on Magic cards.
Right.
Didn't realize that I would then just spend money all the time on board games. But so I looked at this box and my sister was like, oh, you will love this game. It's so good. And I look at the box and I'm like, no, this game looks awful. And it's Concordia. Concordia has some of the worst box art I've ever seen. I mean, I think by default it should be considered an Eggertspiele game, right?
Yes.
Just because of that. But it's actually, Rio Grande, I think?
Mm-hmm.
So Concordia is like, trading in the Mediterranean? It's deck building, there's worker placement, there's some sneaky area control in there as well. Resource management. I mean, it's got like a little bit of everything. And when it's like my eyes opened up when I started playing this game, and I'm like, wow, this game is so cool. There's so many neat aspects to this game, and it was so satisfying. And I went from like not wanting to play this at all because the box is like a woman with grapes. I don't even remember. It's not good. It's not great. And it, you open it up and you've got this awesome map of like the Mediterranean, and there's and you got all the cities and you got all this really great wooden bits, and then the cards are really well themed, and there's like Latin on there, in the bottom, and you got that set collection going on with the deck building. Concordia is like, depending on the day you ask me, it's like my 1 or 2 favorite game of all time.
Wow.
Nice.
Considering a guy that loves hunks of plastic on a game, on a board, and chucking dice, yeah, Concordia it blew me away, and I love it, and I get excited every time I get a chance to play it. So
yeah, this is actually one that I don't think we played till this year, maybe last year.
Probably, I think last year maybe.
And I wasn't turned off of it because of the box, because I could care less about that. But
I was turned off of by the box.
I just didn't.
Lackluster.
Yeah, I didn't know anybody that had it. I didn't know much about it. But then I played Transatlantic, which is like the Matt Gertz like follow up to this, same kind of deal, but it's a worse game. And then so after playing that mechanism of picking cards up, playing cards, and all that mess, I went and picked up Concordia, and it's amazing. So I'm right there with you. It may not be my number 1 or 2, but it's definitely a solid game.
It just does so many things so well, and I haven't even played with the expansions like Venus or Salsa or I forget what the other one. There's another one I think now, and I will probably eventually get them. But It's just that there's, again, it's like, it's relatively easy to teach and explain. It doesn't overstay its welcome. Like, in my experience, I haven't had like really way too long of a game of Concordia to happen. It usually goes pretty brisk. And, you know, like, there's that deck building. I like deck building. There's a little bit of area control. I really like that. But sort of that resource management and like plotting how you're going to move around the map and everything and building everything up. I love it.
Yeah, it is so great. Like, we just played this maybe a couple weeks ago because we have the expansion.
Yeah.
Salsa, which is it's really fun. Like, once we got it and actually played it, we're like, this is totally our kind of game. I did have a game of it that lasted too long, but I was playing with a lot of people that had some serious AP. And
I can't handle that. I call people out. I'm like, all right, come on, move it up. Like, it's a game.
What killed me is that they were teaching it to me, and it was their turns were taking longer than mine. I'm like, what is happening?
Katie's too nice to call people out, so that won't happen.
Which doesn't.
Well, I call my friends out. I don't call out strangers. But if it's not like a tournament setting, it's like, come on. Like, I'd like to play something else today.
Right? Yeah. No, I'm with you. I'm with you.
I sometimes call people out. I'm not. People don't think I'm nice on this podcast because I'm always yelling at you because you're saying crazy stuff. So people think that I'm actually mean and would tell people to move along with their turn. But I didn't know these people well. Otherwise, yeah, I probably would have said, today, Junior, like, pick something.
Right. Don't worry, I'll stomp my feet and storm out and then come back in and go, I'm not mad anymore. So, like, I've established myself as that character. You know, you got your role. We're good.
We all have our parts to play.
That's right.
Yeah, that's a good pick. I'm glad you like it. That is a good game. And I was surprised, too, because I thought the box art was hideous. And actually, this is one that Joel talked to us about. And I was like, oh, here we go. It's another one that Joel likes. But it was good. He was right.
Oh. It's on record now.
I know, I hate to admit that. Whoa. So my last game was surprising because it's kind of space themed and it's cooperative. And I don't like that either.
It has an app too.
And it has an app, which I'm super old school. Like, I want to do everything pencil and paper. But when we played Rising 5, which is by Grey Fox, I think Rising 5 Runes of Astros is the full name or whatever, I was so surprised by how fun it was. And I really liked it. So you're trying to determine these different runes, and do you need to get them in the right order? No, you just need to figure out which rune goes in which place. Yeah.
Yeah, you got to get them in the right order, yeah.
Yeah. But you're also like fighting baddies to get the chance to get hints to figure out where the runes need to be, and you're moving these different characters around. And it's interesting because it's not like, oh, I have a character that I solely move around and you have yours, but you have a handful of cards that have all the different characters on them, well, depending on your draw. And so you can move any of the characters, and they each have a special power and ability. So there's a lot of different things going on. It's not just like a basic deduction, cooperative kind of thing where here you have 5 action points, blah, blah, blah. It's a little bit more than that. And I kind of liked that intersection despite the kind of rando theme. Everyone tells me that it's pretty much like a newer version of Mastermind, which I have never played. So I like it for what it is, and that's Rising 5.
I've never played it, but it looks cool to me, but I like co-ops, and I don't mind space.
There you go.
I mean, it is a co-op. It's an easier co-op. Like, it's not going to slap you around like Black Orchestra or, I don't play a ton of co-op, so Black Orchestra.
One we played.
Robinson Crusoe. I do know we do have that one.
That's so brutal.
But yeah, if you played Mastermind and you like apps, you like space, it's a pretty fun game. Like, I enjoy it too, which I don't care about space as much as Katie, but apps I don't really love in games. But I do like Mastermind, and I hate co-op, so I really like this one.
Yeah, I think it's really family friendly too. Like, it's easy to you can discuss and work together really well on this. So I think it can kind of bring all different kinds of people at all different levels together to play it, which I also think is another bonus for it.
Yeah, accessibility is really big, right? Like, depending on there are a lot of times where, like, I'm looking for games that will fit like multiple niches in my game group, right? So it's like, oh, I can get this played because they don't like these kind, but they'll play this, so.
Right.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Okay. So those are the games that surprised us in a good way. Well, I'm sure there are a couple others that surprised me, but we talk about those games all the time, like Gambler. I mean,
I think that surprised everyone, right?
Yeah, I think so. But we would love to know what games surprised you, because hopefully maybe we'll share the same kind of sentiment. And I'm like, oh, I don't want to play that game. That game looks dumb. And you said, I thought so too, but it was great. That kind of testimonial is really winning for me. So find us on Facebook. Let us know what you think. What kind of games surprised you in a good way? If you aren't part of the Riveted community, you'd need to join our Facebook group. #The Riveted. Everyone's so great in there. Discussing games. Share what you thought about the podcast. Definitely drop in this week and tell Tim what an awesome job he did putting up with me and Jason.
Whoop, whoop. Or I would say the other way around, but yes.
No, you're definitely putting up with us.
For real.
And, you guys create an awesome environment in the Riveted, right? Like, everybody's able to have the games they love. We always have a really good back and forth conversation about, what's on everybody's table and everything. And everybody's so nice. It's really awesome. I love it. It's like a nice, warm, safe place to go and talk about games.
I totally agree. And we love I love having the diversity of people who are like really into the card games or into mini games or into space games. Like, I don't know what's wrong with you, but good for you. Like, I love seeing all those varieties popping up and expanding horizons, because, I've played some games that are space games that aren't too terrible, that surprised me a little bit. So, please come and talk to us in the community. Twitter, Instagram, and of course, our YouTube channel. Jason's always putting stuff out on there. Tim, you could always put some stuff out on there, maybe. Just saying.
This doesn't count? Or like the video I made about talking about my favorite games with tracks and nobles? That doesn't.
That was too racy for our channel. We couldn't handle that.
It was so racy. Who knew?
Who
knew? Woo! I did not realize the hot takes were going to get us in trouble.
And aside from our stuff, Tim, you can go ahead and tell everybody about the Board Game Rundown and Game Talk if you want.
Yeah, so I do a weekly board game show called the Board Game Rundown on YouTube. You can find us there. You can find us on Facebook at Game Talk Network. That's sort of like the umbrella that we're under. So there's also like a guy who does a miniatures show, like a Warhammer stuff, and then they post articles about the game industry, different things going on, either at WizKids or whatever, all over the place. We got a lot of stuff. But yeah, we do a weekly show. We do reviews. They're not as good as Jason's, but we're working on it. But our weekly show is kind of like a panel, and there's usually some pretty good banter. We get a little zany sometimes, and a little salty with the language sometimes too. We had to get bleeped out this week, but that was my fault. I made a conscious decision to include a Kickstarter with a naughty word in the title. But
shame. I know your name.
I know. It's terrible. But and also, I want to say, while you guys are here and you're stuck, and Jason, don't you dare edit this out, is that I want to thank you guys, especially the board game mechanics, because you guys, when I was just getting started and trying to figure out like how to do my show, I kept pumping you guys with questions, and you never hesitated. You've always been so helpful. Even, I think today I probably asked you a question. I mean, I'm always asking you guys stuff on like how to get, and you guys are so accessible and so available, and I really, really, really appreciate it. So you've been amazing to me. I'm really grateful to you guys. Thank you.
We appreciate you.
Yeah, I just love talking about games. So and I like talking about making videos and stuff too. So yeah, I'm
clearly, because I never have a problem getting an answer. So that's awesome.
Yeah, we don't have the corner on the market of this stuff for sure. So yeah, we love to talk about stuff like that. And Jason's always like, yeah, hey, Tim was asking about this. What do you think? And I was like, oh yeah, that's interesting. And I love that. We really want to have that kind of a community, because I don't think that it's going to help anyone to hold on to stuff and act like you've got proprietary information or whatever. I love being able to talk with other reviewers and podcast hosts and stuff, and you guys as members of the Riveted, like, we love hearing from you and talking with you. So I'm so glad you could come on tonight, Tim. Like, it's been so great to have you.
I'm happy to cramp your style anytime y'all need it or want it. This has been a blast for me. I thank you very much.
All right. I don't have anything else. Does anybody have any closing remarks that we missed?
I think if I talk anymore, I won't get asked back. So,
yeah, I was just gonna say we're getting to the point of I don't want to edit any longer, so we probably need to wrap this up.
All right. Well, then I've been Katie,
and I'm Jason.
I'm Tim.
Keep gaming, everybody.
Keep gaming.